Thank you very much for the invitation to this beautiful conference. And good morning. I'm here in Europe in the evening, early evening. So this paper is a work of fieldwork, ethnographic work in the past years, even before I engaged with CIS. As an architect doing work in anthropology of architecture, embedded in environmental movement groups, mainly in Europe. But it's very connected with this conference, and that's why I applied with this proposal. So I want you, first of all, I would like to begin by inviting us to a moment of reflection. Let us call to mind a body of water. How can I? Okay, yes. A body of water that lives in your memory, perhaps a river from your childhood, an ocean or shore where you once grieved or celebrated, or even the sacred stillness of a mountain spring. Feel its presence, not only as a material, resource, or element, but as relation. Connect with your breathing while you evoke this setting here and now. So, from ancient water rituals to contemporary planetary water struggles, water carries with it the potential for both psychic rupture and psychic renewal. What does it mean, then, to approach water not only as a resource, but as a sacred participant in our collective becoming? Starting from our own bodies. We know that life started from water, and our bodies are made of water and continuously make relationships with water inside out our bodies themselves through vibrating, through breathing, like many other life forms, through sponging, through pulsating, etc. Our daily routines engage many kinds of water circulation, water movements, and mutation of water states. It is interesting that these water states and also the movement patterns that they inflict upon our own felt sense and also daily activities orchestrate like simultaneous melodies inside and around us. So there is a kind of vibrational or sound or music, let's call, there is something that accompanies us in a harmonious way or in a disharmonious way, like disruptive. So in my view, water states and the movement patterns that are related to them inform our somatic states, and therefore also our participation in environmental states of our surroundings, and even perhaps to the planetary states, to Gaia as a body of water, mainly. So we have sponging and pulsating. And what is the edge we stand on today? So from the ritual purification of the Ganges to the Standing Rock resistance Bodies of water have long served as sites of spiritual encounter, collective memory, and ecological stewardship. Yet under modern regimes of extraction and commodification, the psychic connection between water and the human psyche has eroded. We are living at the edge, an edge that is at once ecological, psychological, and spiritual. The polycrisis we face is not simply a crisis of systems or economies, or extraneous kinds of politics and governments that we are having, but of consciousness. As the web of life frays under the weight of extraction, colonization, and dissociation, I find that ecopsychology can remind us that we must look within as much as without. And as the Earth system collapses under the process of extraction and climate change, water reminds us of our capacity to flow, adapt, and renew. Look at this picture. This picture is water, but is polluted by oil and it still has a kind of beauty in it, strangely, paradoxically. So reconnecting through water and what ecopsychology can inform our worldview and studies. In this paper, I explore the ecopsychological significance of water as a numinous force, an animate presence that has long shaped human and more than human life. And water, as both element and symbol, marks a liminal space between inner and outer transformation. Approaching water as a numinous presence allows us to engage the ecological crisis not just politically or materially, but spiritually and psychically mainly. And the field of ecopsychology rests on a premise that the ecological crisis is a mirror of an internal crisis, a crisis in worldview, in soul, in relationship. At this age, which I just described, we are asked not only to respond with policy or protest, but to engage in deep inner work that can realign the human psyche with the living earth. It is here, at the edge of unraveling, that the numinous becomes a vital question. We need sacred encounter. We need to feel the earth not only as a home, but as an intimate presence. Not outside, but inside. And psychology posits that the disconnection between humans and nature or water is a root cause of environmental degradation. So this polycrisis we are facing today reflects a worldview that treats water as a resource rather than a king. So an ecological water and the psyche. So water, perhaps more than any other element, has a liminal agency, holds the capacity to mediate between inner and outer worlds. In myth, water is a portal. Wells are places of prophecy, rivers mark thresholds, and oceans hold the mysteries of life and death. In the psyche, water signifies emotion and conscious, the fluid processes of transformation. But the contemporary psyche is increasingly estranged from this elemental intimacy. When water is reduced to a commodity, bottled, traded, polluted, or damned, our psychic relationship with it shifts. We see this most starkly in sites like Flint, Michigan, where water contamination not only endangered physical health, but severed trust in social systems, in government, in the very body of the earth. And yet water continues to call us. So modern water crises, such as the one I just mentioned in Michigan, and also the pipeline resistant movement, reveal a rupture with the collective psyche. When water is contaminated or commodified, it is not only life support that is threatened, it is also memory, identity, and spiritual belonging. Across the world, movements are rising up not only to protect water, but to listen to it. These movements are not merely political, they are deeply ecopsychological in nature. They enact a re-ensoulment of activism, which is central for me in this paper, a reweaving of sacred relation. I'm going to show a few cases that which exemplify this ensoulment of activism. Boom Festival, as you may know, is a very, very interesting eco-psychedelic festival in central Portugal, near Extremadura, very near to the border with Spain. It is self-organized and self-funded. And when they got this land, which was in the second phase of Boom Festival history, they committed to regenerate this landscape throughout the year and to become a paradigm of sustainability. This festival has been awarded with many environmental prizes internationally, and is a role model of festivals of this kind. They recycle all the water that is produced, and they collect during the whole festival all the compost, and they provide this compost, they sell it to the village nearby. Boom Festival applies permaculture and agroforestry. They invite volunteers from all over the world. They live together for 3 months before the festival starts, and they become a community. They share rituals, circles, they revere water, they celebrate, they pray together, and they cultivate this vibe all through their stay, and the sharing of these activities of building, of creating art together, of growing vegetables, of irrigating all the gardens, of setting up and all the art installations and pavilions. Mar Menor is another example, and is very clear, is a manifestation of this inquiry that Bruno Latour took from Alfred North Whitehead, which is the bifurcation of nature, how to overcome this bifurcation of ourselves with nature, and in this paper with water. And Mar Menor is a little seawater lagoon in the southeast of Spain, and it has been polluted by industrial farms since the 60s, and has different groups, social groups intervening for the good and for the not so much good, let's say. So here is a kind of synthesis. It is in Spanish written. It's a timeline that shows different interventions, activities, activations, and actions to recover, to restore this ecosystem. It has been severed dramatically in the last decades. And this has sprung a very interesting social movement in coalition with Extinction Rebellion to recover the life in this body of water, and also the memories of those who were kids and usually swam with the seahorses. It is located here, for those who don't know this region in Spain, and it's a very interesting location to think about ecopsychology, bodies, human bodies, and water. So you here see the different agents that have been present in the degeneration and regeneration of this lagoon. So I jump into listening to water because it's a very important piece of this ecopsychological perspective of water activism. As you may know, Berta Cáceres was murdered. She was an environmental activist. And unfortunately, as many others, mainly in Latin America, she was murdered. And she was, this is a very famous sentence that she said, "Me lo dijo el río," the river told me. So she exemplifies this connection with the river that she knew from her childhood with her people. And she was completely, very sensitively, bodily attuned to the health of this river, because that implicated the health of her community. And in Spain, I want to bring something that was very unfortunate that happened in October with very strong rains almost in the same region of Spain, in Valencia, but it's a little bit more northern, like 1 hour distance by car. And it's the Danas. The Danas completely filled the dams. They provoke a terrible flood covering whole cities and also provoking many deaths. It was a very sad episode in Spain, and the government didn't react on time. Neither the regional or the national, and still we are dealing with I mean, in Spain are dealing still with the consequences of this poor management. So this is just one case of not listening to water, not listening to the people that were suffering this catastrophe, and the very slow response for the rescue of people and non-humans like pets, and also farm animals and yields and gardens that all the agricultural production they had so far, because it is a very important region for agriculture in Spain. So we see that ritual emerge as a crucial practice, whether through formal ceremony, meditative immersion, or simple acts of tending a stream. Ritual helps bridge the gap between the psychic and nature, the psychic and water, between the self and the earth. This is again in Mar Menor, and I want to show one of their actions, the actions of all the people that were sensitive to this ecosystemic destruction. by capitalist agricultural activities, and is an action that consisted in hugging the lagoon. So the hundreds of people or thousands, I don't remember exactly the number of people that were needed to do this huge hug, surrounded all the lagoon. And this was part of the activist activities around a legal figure that was proposed by an activist lawyer, academic lawyer in Guam University near Mar Menor in Murcia. And it's a legal figure that grants full sovereignty to citizens. So the group that organized around this ILP, which is the acronym, Popular Legislative Initiative, they collected 600,000 signatures. And with this, they went to the Parliament of Spain and they proposed to make this setting the first non-human ecosystem entity with environmental legal rights. So this was the first in Europe and was the fifth in the planet. There is at least at the time of this event, there was one ecosystem in each continent with legal rights, non-human legal rights. And last year in New York, it was celebrated the first Earth Assembly with representatives of these ecosystems. And this is, for me, one way of ensouled activism, which is engaging collectives from everywhere in causes that are made through existing democratic tools, which is very exciting for me to see this conjunction of ensouling activism, but also democratizing by joining with the non-humans for a better preserved Earth. So in conclusion, just to be brief and to allow for the questions, the QA. So what is the role of ecopsychology at the age? It is to remind, in my view, to remind us that transformation begins in relationship, that psyche and earth are not separate, and water. That to protect water is to protect our own soul capacity to feel, to flow, to reconnect, to deepen, to expand, to learn, and to transform. Ecopsychology at the age invites us not only to analyze, examine, protest, but to feel, and not only to critique, but to listen to water, to each other's bodies of water, not only to mourn what has been lost, but to imagine what might still be restored and improved. And perhaps more importantly, it invites us to fall in love again with our bodies of water, with rivers, springs, with the rain, and the tears of each other's faces. So water, in all its luminous presence, asks us to remember life is sacred and the earth is alive. And as we stand on the edge of ecological collapse and spiritual forgetting, water calls us to listen. Ecopsychology at the edge does not offer simple answers, but invites presence, humility, and relational care. Reclaiming the numinous dimension of water is not an escape from activism. It is its deepening. In honoring water's sacred presence, we remember our own. Thank you.